Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Matt Bernardo. I'm a strength coach, a fitness expert, personal trainer. I've owned the gym. I've trained athletes from 5 years old up to pros, and I've trained a lot of men that used to play sports that want to be in the best shape of their lives, okay? So basically, this channel is going to be about helping men that are over 30 get in the best shape of their lives, get a lean, ripped, athletic physique. Now, today's video is going to be about why a lot of men over 30 are doing a lot of strength training. They're hitting the gym, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week. They're doing the bro split, they're doing powerlifting, they're doing bodybuilding, whatever it is that they're doing. They're hitting the gym, they're hitting the weights, and they're not seeing the results like they used to. So maybe when they were in high school or college, they may have played sports, they lifted weights and they had a great physique, but now they're still lifting weights and they might be strong, but they're chubby, they're bloated, they're fat, right? They're not lean, ripped, and athletic like they used to be. So, so you're hitting the gym and maybe you're following a program on an app, or you bought a program online, or maybe you have an online trainer and this is the program, whatever it is. You're not getting the results that you want. You're still chubby. You're still, you're not ripped. You're not lean. Okay. You want to look like a running back in the NFL, or a wide receiver, or maybe a sprinter, or Olympic sprinter type. That's the body you want. That's what most men want to have, that type of body, right? No one rolls out of bed in the morning and says, damn, I want to look like that offensive tackle from the Dallas Cowboys or whatever, right? So that's what most men want to look like. And they're hitting the gym 3-4 days a week, but again, they're wasting their time because they're still chubby, they're still fat, okay? And a lot of guys are going to settle for it, and they're going to say, it's just age, right? It's just my age. You get older, your hormones change, and you can't have that body anymore. It's just how it is. You have the dad bod or whatever it is like that. But that is bullshit, guys. So nothing could be further from the truth. There's plenty of men out there that are natural, not taking drugs. They're lean, they're ripped, they're athletic. And what are they doing to get like that? That's what you got to look at, okay? Yes, some people might have great genetics, some might not. People always say, I have great genetics. My parents aren't. They're okay. I mean, my dad's been overweight a lot of his life. My mom's not in the best shape. She doesn't even really, she does a little bit of yoga or something. But, I have an older brother. He's in okay shape. He doesn't even work out. So my genetics aren't like, it's not like my dad played in the NFL or was an Olympic sprinter or something. I don't have that type of genetics. I've worked for it, but it is possible, if you do the right things, to dial it in, right? And to get that body that you want and get that energy that you want. And that you could have the strength, the energy, the body, you could have all that stuff, okay? But you got to dial a few things in. So what are 4 things that a lot of times are overlooked when men are creating their training program or wondering why they're not getting the results that they want, right? So there are 4 things that a lot of times are overlooked. Now, there's obviously more to this. You could literally write a whole book on this, right? But 4 things that in no particular order, I'm just going to run down them first. So number 1 is your main or only form of exercise is strength training, okay? So the only thing that they do is strength train, and that's a big mistake. You aren't running sprints. So that's kind of a prelude to number 1, right? So they kind of go together. Number 3, you're not getting enough steps every day. Okay, you're too sedentary. Number 4, your sleep sucks. And we're going to go into this in quite detail, but sleeping is so important because all your hormones are optimized by sleep. Okay, so and any hormone that is going to help you get lean and ripped and give you energy and make you more masculine is going to be optimized by sleeping. And a lot of guys don't sleep that well, especially as they get older. And then we'll put it all together and kind of tie it together and go from there, okay? So number 1, your main or only form of exercise is strength training. Strength training is important, guys. Don't get me wrong. Now, before a lot of guys get their panties in a bunch and say, I'm a bodybuilder and I look like this and all I do is strength training. Okay, great. Most guys can't do that. They don't have that type of genetics. They're not on drugs. There are natural bodybuilders, but again, I'm going for averages here. Most guys are not going to be able to do that. To only do strength training and being lean, ripped, and athletic, and have an athletic looking body. Okay, so a lot of guys get confused by this. I'm not saying not to strength train. You need to strength train. Just can't be your only form of exercise. Okay, so sometimes if you are doing a lot of strength training and you're not getting the results you want, you might have to dial that back to add the other things in, right? So remember, in the beginning I described the athlete. I described that Olympic sprinter, that wide receiver, D-back, running back, NFL, outside linebacker, whatever it is, okay? Every guy probably they have it in their mind what they want to look like, and they've seen other guys look like that, and that's what they have in their mind. So these guys all strength train, right? All these athletes strength train. But it's not their only form of exercise, okay? Remember when you were playing sports. Maybe you played high school sports or college sports even, right? Remember when you played sports and you started strength training. You probably had a great physique, right? And a lot of times people think it's because of the strength training, but that's part of it. But it's also because you were running sprints every day. You were getting a lot of activity in. You were jumping. You were competing. You were doing all these things every day almost, right? Maybe a couple days, 1 or 2 days off a week. But you're doing these every day. And strength training was just a means to get better at that sport more than it was. And you wanted to look good, but it was basically sprinkled in when you could sprinkle it in on top of your sports that you played, right? And that's how athletes train. So if strength training is your only form of exercise, we need to change that, right? And a lot of guys in this category are chubby, but they're really strong already. They may have been lifting. If you're 35, 40 years old, let's say you're 40 and you played high school sports, you started strength training at 14 or 15 years old. So you already have 25 years of strength training under your belt. Sorry, someone just delivered a package. So you already have all that under your belt. Okay, so now we're gonna go to number 2. You already have all these years of strength training under your belt, most likely. Maybe you don't. I'm not saying to stop. I don't think anybody should stop strength training, okay? I think that it's important. So as you get older, it's important to maintain your muscle mass. That's going to give you the body that you want, or build muscle, and also for longevity, right? The stronger people live better quality of lives and probably live longer, and that's actually a proven fact, okay? So the next one, now that we talked about only strength training, number 2 is you're not sprinting, okay? So sprinting is the missing link from a lot of men being somewhat strong and chubby to being ripped and athletic, okay? There's so many benefits to strength training. It's incredible. If I personally had to pick one modality of exercise to do for the next however many years, it would be sprinting, right? So I personally sprint 2 to 3, sometimes 4 days a week. Now I do masters track and field. So when I'm competing in my season, I might do a little more, but like in the off season, whatnot, most of the fall and winter, I'm only going to do maybe 2 to 3 days of sprinting. And I stay lean and ripped and athletic, and I feel great. And there's a lot of benefits to sprinting other than just being an intense exercise, okay? So remember, when you were young and you thought you were in your prime and you had a great body, you were sprinting almost every day, probably, if you played sports, right? Even if you didn't, you probably played pickup sports. You know, it's just, you forget how much you actually moved besides just lifting weights, right? So for some reason, when we graduate high school or college and we stop playing organized sports, we think we're too old or we're too embarrassed to go out there and run some sprints, right? And maybe you're scared you're going to get injured, okay? So I don't know what to tell you. You got to get over that embarrassment. yes, there's a chance of getting injured when you're running sprints, but there's a chance of getting injured doing anything, right? So you got to get that out of your mind, and you have to do this properly. That's the most important thing. You can't just go out there and sprint a 40-yard dash all out, timing yourself, thinking, and you haven't sprinted in 10, 25, 10, 15, 20 years, and thinking you're not going to get hurt. You probably will. So you need to really work your way into, ease your way into it almost, right? So there's ways to do it. I work with my clients on it, and we find ways to make the sprinting less risky, okay? So one of them could be resistance. So, sprinting with pulling a sled or sprinting with a band or something like that makes it less risky because of the resistance, which is kind of counterintuitive, but it slows you down and you're able to just build up your tolerance to the high velocity movements before you actually run unresisted all out for different distances, okay? So some of the benefits of sprinting would be, sprinting is going to help you build muscle and maintain muscle because of the intensity. Remember, sprinting in a straight line is going to be the most intense movement that you could possibly do. More intense than lifting something heavy, more intense than jumping. Sprinting in a straight line over a short distance is going to be super intense. Now, if you do it against the clock, it's going to make it even more intense. If you do it against, that means someone timing you. If you do it against another person or a couple more people, like in a race and a clock, that's going to even make it the most intense, right? So just keep those in mind. If you're running by yourself, it's a little less intense than if you're racing somebody. Okay, so the intensity there is going to actually, in some people, can help build muscle. If you're not that muscular, it'll help build strength and muscle, right? So strength, high velocity movements have strength component to them, and it's going to help you maintain muscle. So even if you didn't work out and you were really strong already, you're going to maintain strength and muscle if you sprint a lot. And I've learned this firsthand. I've done months at a time with very little strength training, maybe just some body weight training, and came back into the gym and really didn't miss a beat. And that's because I was sprinting and doing high intensity, high velocity sprinting instead of lifting, and it maintained my muscle just as well as lifting. Okay, so when you're sprinting, your body wants to preserve muscle and get rid of fat to become more efficient, right? So it's kind of like a survival skill that your body has built into it, right? So it's saying, I need to sprint to be able to survive, so I need to get rid of some of this excess fat. It's not efficient, and I need to maintain my muscle because it's helping me run fast, right? So the survival mechanism helps you become more efficient at being lean and ripped and athletic. It improves your EPOC, which is exercise post-oxygen consumption, right? So basically, it's the amount of calories. Think about the amount of calories you're going to burn when you're not working out. So it's going to essentially raise your metabolism, okay? So if you are, let's say when you lift weights, you burn 400 calories through your 1 hour strength training session. Well, when you're sprinting, it might only be like 30 minutes. You only be out there for 30 minutes. You might only sprint 4 times 10 seconds. So it's 40 seconds of sprinting, but you need some rest to be able to do it fast, right? So you're not moving that whole time. So you might only burn, let's say that 30-minute workout, or 45-minute workout, you burn 150 calories as opposed to 400 calories. But when you're done with that workout, the rest of the day, your calorie burn will be way elevated, more so than if you just did the lifting, right? So you're going to get more calorie burn post-exercise. So that obviously helps you stay lean, stay more ripped, okay? It improves your mood because the intensity is so high. It improves your mood because you can't think neurologically, you can't focus on anything else. So if you go out and run a sprint all out for that 10 seconds, let's say, or 20 seconds, or 5, even if it's 5 seconds, let's say you are racing someone in the 60-yard dash, you're not thinking about anything but moving your body as fast as possible, right? So your mood is actually improved because you forget about all the nonsense that you're thinking about. And neurologically, you can only focus on that high velocity, that primal, it's like a primal high velocity movement. So you forget about everything else. Everything else is gone, right? And then you use every joint, every muscle in your body at maximum intensity. So if you're lifting weights, and not to compare lifting weights to sprinting, but let's say you're doing bicep curls. Yeah, you're using your bicep and your forearm and your grip, okay? And you're standing there, you're bracing yourself, okay? But when you sprint, you're using, if you think about every joint from your toes to your ankles to your knees, to your hips, to your back, to your vertebrae, to your wrist, elbows, fingers, shoulders, neck, you're using everything from head to toe, and it's moving at speeds that you can't recreate anywhere else, and the intensity is so high that there's just no other way to get that type of exercise, right? So you're using every muscle, every connective tissue, every joint in the body at maximum capacity. And then it increases your testosterone and your HGH naturally, okay? So no TRT replacement, no over-the-counter drugs, no illegal drugs. You don't need all that stuff. You're increasing that stuff naturally, and again, that's because you're using all the muscles in your body and joints in your body at a maximal intensity, and your body says, "Whoa, I gotta increase my hormones here to keep up." So we're gonna get more into the hormones with the sleep, but again, if you notice a theme here too, a lot of this is optimizing your hormones. So it's adding in exercises that are going to give you bang for your buck. It's sprinting is going to increase your hormone production, and sleeping and all that stuff. So again, okay, now the third thing is you're not getting enough steps every day. You're too sedentary, okay? So you're soft and chubby because you're not active enough. And you might lift weights, you're lifting weights, but then you're sitting the rest of the time, okay? You're sitting while you're lifting probably too, actually. You're sitting at a desk at work all day. You're sitting on the couch watching football or sports ball or whatever the hell you're watching. You're sitting on your phone. So you're not getting in enough steps every day. And this is crazy because I have some stats here that you'll see. It's so easy to lose a little bit of fat and to stay lean just by walking. Get yourself a pedometer or use your phone. I like the pedometer because if you are going to be running sprints, like I said above, you could put the pedometer on your shorts, or somewhere on your body, and it'll track those steps for you as you do that sprint workout. Now, I've found that a sprint workout for me is getting me about 5,000 to 6,000 steps, at least 4,000 to 6,000 steps, or 7,000 in that range, depending upon the workout, just from that workout alone, not counting the rest of the steps I do during the day. That's a lot of steps. So a pedometer is $10 on Amazon, $13, I think. You could also use, there's apps on your phone. I think there's one built into every iPhone that you could see how many steps you take in a day. It's hard though, because if you're like doing a workout, you aren't carrying your phone around with you. So I would suggest to get the pedometer. But let's move on. To keep in mind, a few things to keep in mind here, that for the average man, 1 mile is about 2,000 steps. And it takes 20 minutes for the average man, okay? So an average 200-pound man burns about 100 calories per 20 minutes walking, or 1 mile, or 2,000 steps. So if you multiply that by 5, you'll burn 500 calories per day. And if you multiply that by 7, that's 3,500 calories per week. Okay, just if you're walking 10,000 steps a day. And that's what I suggest all my clients shoot for, is 10,000 steps in a day. It seems like a lot at first, but it's really not. If you start tracking it, you'll see where you can add in. And it just keeps you active, keeps you moving, and it's such an easy way. It doesn't take away from your lifting, it doesn't take away from sprinting, it doesn't make you tired, fatigued, none of that stuff. But getting those steps in is huge to like getting lean. Now, if you think about this, it just so happens that we said, what? If you do 10,000 steps a day, is going to burn 500 calories. Okay, if you do that 7 days a week, that's 3,500 calories. 1 pound of fat is actually 3,500 calories. So if you wanted to lose 10 pounds of fat, let's say, in 10 weeks, just by walking 10,000 steps a day and doing nothing else, you should be able to lose your 10 pounds of fat. But you got to go out there and you got to walk. You got to get off your ass. You got to get the steps in. Another important benefit of this is, and I always do this myself, and I suggest my clients do it as well, if possible. Do it outside, because there's always benefits to being outside, fresh air, nature. It grounds you. The sun is super important for vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually a hormone, and it helps optimize your hormone levels, your masculine hormone levels. So again, back to the hormones. If you can walk, you might as well walk outside. If you can't, if there's no other way to do it, and you have to get on the treadmill, then get on the treadmill, wear your pedometer, hold your phone so you know how many steps you're getting. But yeah, it's a super easy way to add in, to get leaner and to lose fat, and to be more active, feel better. It's good for your mood, all that stuff. So 10,000 steps a day, pretty easy. All right, guys, we're going to do the final thing on our list is going to be sleep. So one of the reasons that is largely overlooked when men are lifting weights and they're still staying stuck being a chubby physique, they're not lean, ripped, and athletic like they want to be, is because your sleep sucks, man. So sleep is so important to health. I hate the modern, like, social media grind. Everybody needs to grind it out, grind. Like, athletes need to grind their training. Men need to grind. Their sleep is for when you're dead, blah, blah, blah. Most people, there are going to be maybe a couple people in the world that can function on not enough sleep. But 99.99% need to have good sleep, probably 7 to 9 hours, if not more, of good sleep. And I know it's hard, especially if you have a family and you have a job, you have commitments and whatnot, but you got to get to bed. If you have to get up early, you got to get to bed early. There's no way around it, okay? It's so important for your health because it optimizes your hormones. And actually, when I think about it, if I had to pick getting good, let's say I needed some good sleep or I had to get up and work out, I would choose the sleep. The sleep is actually going to be more important than the workout, especially as guys get older. If you're over 30 and you're already lifting weights and you're pretty strong, you're just chubby and you need to get rid of body fat and you want to become ripped and lean, athletic, the sleep is going to be more important than the lifting, okay? I'm not saying you should never lift weights and just sleep. I'm saying if you had to choose one or the other, an early ass workout or getting a good night's sleep, it's going to be the sleep, okay? So it's going to optimize your hormone production and regulation of your hormones. And it's a vicious negative cycle. That's what people don't understand, right? So all the hormones, so we're going to go through testosterone, HGH, insulin, cortisol, leptin and ghrelin, and melatonin, right? So those are the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically, hormones that we're going to talk about with sleep. And it's a vicious cycle where, like, if you don't get enough sleep, the hormones get worse, right? And you get like, and as you don't get enough sleep, the hormone optimization gets worse and production gets worse, and then you get fatter and chubbier and you lose muscle. So, like, it's just going to be like a vicious cycle that one affects the other and they just keep affecting each other in like a cycle, right? So the number one thing to remember with sleep is your body only recovers while it's sleeping, right? So any injury, any hard training, all that stuff, you need to sleep to recover. If you don't sleep, you're not recovering. Your body only recovers. Think of this. Your body only is recovering while it's sleeping. So if you're only getting a couple hours sleep, you're not going to be fully recovered. If you're getting crappy sleep, you're not going to be fully recovered, okay? Sleep is when the most important hormonal functions take place. So your body does produce some testosterone, HGH throughout the day, but, excuse me, but it happens mostly while you're sleeping and in your deep sleeps, okay? So, and that's usually going to be the first couple hours of sleep. So testosterone is produced while sleeping. Less test equals less muscle equals worse insulin sensitivity. And we're going to go through insulin as well. And more body fat, okay? So you want to be insulin sensitive. You don't want to be insulin resistant. Insulin resistance is basically metabolic disease, and nutrition is tied into this as well. Obviously, it's super important for that. But that's why people are diabetic, and that's why people have all these diseases that are lifestyle diseases, because they're insulin. They have metabolic disease and they're insulin resistant. So you want to be insulin sensitive, and testosterone is like the thing about testosterone. And even HGH too is like basically what makes a man a man. If you want to be a man, you want to be a fucking man, you want to be muscular, strong, energetic, you want to have sex drive and vitality and all those things that you had when you were younger, you need to sleep because your body needs to produce the testosterone needed to function like a man, right? And as your testosterone goes down, your body fat will go up, right? So, and that makes your insulin sensitivity even worse. You become more insulin resistant as your body fat goes up. So the best thing for someone who's insulin resistant and has diabetes and stuff is to lose body fat, right? To get in shape. That's why they say diet and exercise, diet and exercise. They just don't really tell you how to do it or a way to go about it, right? Okay, so sorry if I'm talking fast. I get excited and I got a lot to say. HGH is known as human growth hormone. It's called HGH. It's illegal in sports, just like testosterone. And it's important for cell growth, repair, maintenance, and metabolism. Okay. It's illegal in sports, like I said, but we make our own. So if you optimize your body's ability to make HGH, you don't need to take extra HGH. You might want to cheat, but that's beside the point. And it's made throughout the day, but it's made in pulses. And most HGH is made at 2 times. So during your deep sleep and after high intensity exercises like sprinting. Okay, so again, that's why we said, it's crucial that you sprint, and I think everybody should be doing it. You make more. It's like the HGH and testosterone is basically the fountain of youth. You make more when you're younger. So when you're growing the most, your body's producing the most HGH. As you stop growing, you don't make as much, but you can still optimize it by training right and by getting quality sleep. And same with testosterone. When you're 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, your body's making a ton of testosterone and it starts to drop as you get older. But again, if your lifestyle sucks and you're not sleeping, you're eating shit even, you're going to make less of those and you're going to feel older. That's why some guys are 50 and they look like they're 25, 30, and some guys are 50 and they could be 80 for all you know. They look like shit. They feel like shit. Insulin, we touched about it a little bit. Insulin is regulated by your circadian rhythm, okay? So your circadian rhythm is basically what makes you fall asleep at night and gets you up in the morning, right? It's your body's natural clock. So you want to optimize that. We'll talk about that a little bit later coming up. But insulin sensitivity is the ability to bring glucose from blood to cells. So you want to eat carbs, and then you want your body to take it through the blood into your tissues, right? Into your cells. You want to be insulin sensitive. You want your body to say, whoa, there's carbs, let's get them put to use. You don't want to be insulin resistant where it's just going to sit in the blood and you can't get rid of it, and that's when you become a diabetic. Your body is going to store more fat with less sleep, and then you become more insulin resistant, right? So again, it's tied directly to the HGH, testosterone. You get enough good sleep, your HGH and your testosterone will be optimized, and you'll maintain more muscle mass or build muscle mass, and you'll be more lean and ripped and muscular, and you'll be more insulin sensitive. If you start to lose muscle, you become less insulin sensitive, you get chubbier. It all goes together in a cycle. The next one is going to be leptin and ghrelin, are two hormones regulated by sleep, and they control your appetite. So you get a lot of sugar cravings. You know, you drink, people get hungover the next day, they think they want to eat all this crap because they're hungover. It's really because you probably didn't get good sleep, right? And so those are regulated by sleeping, and they really make people make poor food choices is what it comes down to. So again, it's a vicious cycle. You don't sleep enough, you don't make testosterone, you don't make your HGH, you make poor food choices, you become more insulin resistant because your muscle tissue is declining. So it's just a cycle, and you want to reverse it. And then cortisol. Cortisol is elevated with poor sleep because you get stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. Well, the sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight nervous system. So you have your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. Your parasympathetic is going to be your rest, relax, digest. Okay? You need both of them. All right? It's another survival mechanism. You need both of them. When you're lifting weights, when you're competing, when you're sprinting, when you're doing all those things, you want to be in your sympathetic nervous system. When you're sleeping, you want to be in your parasympathetic nervous system. You don't want to be stuck in your sympathetic nervous system because you will get elevated cortisol, okay? And if you sleep well, your cortisol levels come down. And they fluctuate throughout the day. They're going to come down when you're sleeping, and they're going to rise in the morning as the sun starts to come up, and you're going to get more energy, and you're going to wake up, okay? Again, it's a survival mechanism. You just want to make sure you're controlling the cortisol, and you don't want to be chronically elevated cortisol. So people that are like overtrained, underslept, high stress, they have high elevated cortisol levels. It's not good for you. It causes undue stress on your body, on your heart, mood swings, because your neurotransmitters in your brain are out of bounds. When you have chronically elevated cortisol levels, you store more belly fat. And again, more fat leads to more insulin resistance, okay? You're not insulin sensitive. And then it's tied back to the HGH and the testosterone, right? So it's all a cycle. Melatonin is another hormone produced by the pineal gland in the brain. Melatonin regulates circadian rhythm, like we just talked about. Melatonin should be rising in the evening with the darkness and lowering in the morning with the light. And again, like I said, I was going to touch on circadian rhythm. Melatonin is important to get that circadian rhythm set. And it gets disrupted when you don't sleep through the night. You have a lot of disruptions. It gets disrupted with light. People with shift work. People who, as you get older, it tends to get disrupted if you're not staying on top of this. Traveling and jet lag, I'm sure you've experienced that. Stress and cortisol disrupts it, and supplements can disrupt it, right? You think you're doing good by taking melatonin, but a lot of times that will disrupt your melatonin production and your circadian rhythms, right? So you need to have, melatonin and circadian rhythms was the last one I touched on, but it's probably like, if you think of a pyramid, and the top of it's going to be testosterone, underneath that's HGH, and then you're going to have your insulin sensitivity and your cortisol, and it's going to come down, and then your melatonin is going to be at the bottom. You have to get your circadian rhythms optimized to get your sleep to be optimized, right? So it might be shutting the phone off, getting, no screen times, dimming the lights, whatever it is. You got to get that stuff under control. And I help my clients with that usually because sleep is so important. I talked about sleep here now for 15 minutes almost, and the other ones I could talk about 15 minutes total between the other three. So sleep is crucial for your hormones, again. And if you have any questions about this stuff, guys, please put them in the comments. I will answer any questions. You can even email me, bernardostraining@gmail.com if you need to email me any questions. But these are like 4 things that I thought just to wrap it up, that I thought that these 4 things are like the mistakes that a lot of guys make. And then, you know, a lot of men over 30, they are lifting weights, right? They are relatively strong, a lot of them. I mean, some of them aren't, but like a lot of guys are, and they just don't have that physique that they want to have. They're not ripped, they're not lean, they don't have that athleticism anymore. And it's because of these 4 things. You're only lifting weights, you're not getting enough steps, you're not sprinting anymore. Your sleep sucks. You're not optimizing your sleep. So in turn, if you're not optimizing your sleep, your hormones are going to be off, right? And the main 2 hormones, we talked on all those 5 different hormones, but when you optimize all of them, your HGH and your testosterone should become more optimal, and you should feel better. You should have more energy. You should have more. You should be more masculine, right? You should want to do more things, and it should make working out easier, right? It's all like, either sleep is a vicious cycle, but all these are a vicious cycle as well, right? They all cycle together. So I hope this helps. Please like this. Please share it with anybody that you think it might help. I really don't have much to offer you unless you live down here right now in Southwest Florida. But again, please give me a like, a thumbs up. Please share with anybody you think it might help. And let me know what you do in the comments. What are you struggling with? Because I want to make a lot of content, but like, it helps me if people let me know what they're struggling with. Like, let me know if you want me to dive more into the sleep, if you want sprinting, if you want me to make more videos about different things. Let me know what you struggle with, and if you have any questions, post them, and I'll be sure to answer them. Thanks, guys.